Thank you for having us here today. A small beinti to everyone, just please come forward. I promise you I don't bite. I'm just a bit sick, so I'm getting the special treatment today. Come forward as much as you can. If I can't see you, you cannot see me, I know that. So just try to space yourself out in a way that you can see myself and the slides. So we're just going to start off with some Mool Mantar, and then we'll begin this presentation, and we'll go on from there, okay? So everybody just join us for Mool Mantar and some WhyGuru Simran, and then we'll get started. Ik oankar satnam karta purakh nirbhau nirvair akal moorat ajuni sabang gur prasad jap आद सच जुगाद सच है पी सच नानक होसी पी सच वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु कहाँ बुद्ध प्रभ तुच्छ हमारी बर न सकै महिमा जो तिहारी हम न सकत कर सिफत तुम्हारी आप लहो तुम कथा सुधारी मैं नाही कछ हूँ नाही किच आहे न मोरा अवसर लज्जा राख ले हो सधना जन तोरा WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. So welcome back everybody to another week of the Japji Sahib course. Is coming to an end, so it's very exciting for everybody. If you haven't already joined in at the basics Japji Sahib course, the community on WhatsApp, then please do so. It's a convenient way of getting information about this course, and it's completely anonymous, so you don't have to worry about your number being seen. So if you haven't done it already, please do so. So today we're going to talk about the 38th Pauri of Japji Sahib. Before we delve into it, this image that you see here is quite important, the image that you see on the screen. So what we're looking at here is that gold is going through a process of purification and then is getting minted into these gold bars at the end of the process. And it's being put under really high temperature for it to be in the liquid form and then be minted into these gold bars. So it's important because throughout Guru Granth Sahib Ji, in so many ways, Guru Granth Sahib Ji and Maharaj, they have talked about Gurbani in a metaphorical way. And this Pauri is going to be one of those instances where Maharaj is talking metaphorically for us to understand what Gurbani is saying. Because Gurbani is so deep and we're not able to grasp the concept of Gurbani so easily, Maharaj is giving us different metaphors so that we can understand Gurbani. Yeah? So we're just going to quickly go through this Pauri, and then we'll get started and see what each and every word in this Pauri means and how we can apply those teachings to our lives. So we're just going to go through it quickly. Jat pahara tiraj sonear, aharan mat ved hathiyar, pao khalla agan taptao, panda pao amrit tit tal, kadiya sabad sachi taksal, jin kau nadar karam tin kar, nanak nadri nadar nihal. So this is Pauri number 38 as shown here. So the main message of Japji Sahib, or you can say the essence of Japji Sahib, is in this Pauri. So if you've attended this course prior to today, you've noticed that you've been learning the theory before. So this is a conversation between Guru Nanak Dev Ji and the Siddhs, right? So they're asking questions and Guru Nanak Dev Ji is answering those questions. So far it's been at the level of the theory, what we need to do. So the difference here is, in this body, the reason why it's the essence of the whole of Japji Sahib is because it's not at the theoretical level anymore. We're applying these teachings, we're living these teachings practically now. That's the difference. So even in Gurbani in Japji Sahib, it says, Sonaya mannaya man kita pao. So we know that we need to listen. Sonaya means to listen. Mannaya means to accept. Man kita pao, meaning that we need to understand, we need to have humility within our minds in order for us to even sonia, to listen, and to manya, to accept, right? We need to have humility. If we don't have humility within our minds, then everything else goes to vain. Nothing really sticks within our minds, right? So humility is very important, and we'll look at different examples where Gursikhs that had humility, how they were able to obtain the state that they did, how they were able to reach God. So the main point of this life, the whole purpose of our life, the reason why we're all here today is very simple, and it's again stated in Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and they say, Pai prapat manukh de huriya, Gobind milan ki eh teri bariya. They're saying it's very simple. You've been given this human body, manukh de huriya, human body. Why? Gobind milan ki eh teri bariya. To meet the creator of the universe, to meet our creator, we've been given this body. The main point from this pankti is near the end. Gobind milan ki eh teri bariya. That this right now is our opportunity, our chance to connect with God, to connect with WhyGuru. It's not that, this whole life is our chance. Each and every breath that we take, we're alive, isn't it? If we don't breathe, then we're not alive. Please nod your head. This is going to be quite interactive. You're not just looking at me, I'm not just talking. We're going to be like a community, okay? So the reason why we're here is because we want to reach WhyGuru, isn't it? We want to merge with WhyGuru, and this body will talk to us about how we can do that. So that's why this body is very much living our lives in a practical way, living Gurbani practically. So each and every breath that we take is an opportunity for us to meet WhyGuru, isn't it? It's an opportunity for us to change things around in our lives. We might have made mistakes in our lives. We might have done some things that we, found to be regretful. But Maharaj is saying each and every breath that we take, we can move that around. We can change that around. And we're going to learn how we can do that in this body. So body number 38 is very important, and it's near the end because it gives us techniques to shape our mind. Okay? So what does it mean to shape our mind? So we need to break away from falsehood, isn't it? So we need to break away from duality, thinking that, for example, let's say we wanted something really badly. And let's say we get it, we pray to WhyGuru and we get it. And when we get it, we think, oh, we're going to get it anyways, isn't it? Like, yeah, I prayed to WhyGuru, but I got it anyways. So we have that duality in our mind sometimes. Let's say we have a friend that we really like and they're our best friend. The next day, we don't talk to them anymore and they don't talk to us anymore. It's like living in duality. One day you're so good with each other and the next day you're not. So the point of this body is we want to remove all the impurities that are in our mind, just like gold goes through the process of purification, where it's heated under high temperature, because it's combined with so many other metals, it's not there in the pure form, okay? So when it undergoes this high temperature, then all the other metals go away, they're separated, and what you get is the purified form of gold. Okay, so just like that, Maharaj are shaping our mind so that we get rid of all the impurities within our mind, meaning we get rid of all the bad thoughts that we have towards others, the ill thinking that we have. We don't want something good for other people because someone else is progressing more than we are. We might have jealousy towards someone, we might have hatred towards someone. All of those negative things are creating impurity within our mind. And the 5 vices, as we already know, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, all of those things are adding on to these impurities. They're keeping us away from connecting with WhyGuru. Okay? So what does that mean? Either we're attracted to the world, either we're doing Simran of the world, or we're doing Simran of WhyGuru. It's very simple. So think about what you're doing throughout the day. What are you doing Simran of? Are you in your mind? Are you constantly thinking about, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that. Oh, so and so said this to me, so and so that said that to me. I'm so hurt and things like that. Is that what we're doing 24 hours a day? So let's say we sleep for 8 hours in a day. For the rest of the time, what are we doing? Are we doing Simran of the world? Or are we doing Simran of WhyGuru? So that's the distinction that we need to make. And this body would help us make that distinction and help us understand why we need to connect with WhyGuru. Okay? So, in essence, we need to reprogram our mind in accordance to Gurbani. We've already programmed our minds from whatever previous lives that we've had, and then we've brought those karam, those actions in this life, and then our mind works in a certain way. But Guru Granth Sahib Ji here, Gurbani, it breaks all of those things away, and they're saying you need to live your life according to these instructions, these teachings that are being given in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So we need to reprogram our mind, reprogram our thinking. Okay? So in order for us to be liberated, so that's the goal, isn't it? We want to be liberated whilst we're still alive. That's what we're here to do. That's why all of you are here today. You want to learn about Japji Sahib. You want to understand the meaning of Japji Sahib so that we too can one day be liberated whilst we're still alive. And that effort, that technique that we need to have in order to adopt in our lives is mentioned in this body. Okay? So, which tools do we need to shape our mind? And in Gurbani it mentions Mamma mansyo kaj hai man sade siddh hoye. So we need to work on our mind. Mamma mansyo kaj hai. So we need to work on mansyo kaj. We need to work on man, the mind. We need to work on our mind. We need to discipline this mind. And the one that has disciplined this mind is the successful one, is the one that gets to connect with WhyGuru. So that's what we're here to do. We're here in this course, in this journey together, so that we can discipline our mind. So let's look at what Maharaj is mentioning practically, what we need to do in order to discipline our mind. So Maharaj say, Jat pahara tiraj sonear. So Jat meaning abstinence, pahara meaning furnace, Tiraj meaning contentment, and Sunyar meaning a goldsmith, the one that, fashions the jewelry, fashions the gold, makes the gold coins or gold jewelry, things like that. So just like gold is placed in a furnace under high temperature, and just like gold, along with other metals, like we mentioned, they're put under high temperature. And then when they are put under high temperature, all the other substances start to leave. So the impurities are starting to leave. And then what you have is the purified form of gold. Just like that, our mind needs to be placed in the furnace of abstinence. Now, this one is very important. So this is a technique, something practically we can do now. So there's 3 ways of looking at abstinence. One is not looking at anyone else in a lustful way. So, Bibi are not looking at the guys in a lustful way. The guys are not looking at the Bibi in a lustful way. We're not looking at each other in a wrongful way, whether you're married or not. Okay? So let's say you are married, and it is said that anyone that's older than you is your mother or father, and anyone that's younger than you is your children. That's it. So we don't want to look at anyone in a wrongful way. So that's discipline. We're disciplining our mind. Another way of looking at it is having self-control. So what are we doing with our eyes? So eyes are a big culprit in this world. So what the eyes do is, 70% of the world you can perceive through these eyes. So 70% of the information that is passed to us, so our brain can process it, is through these eyes. And it depends on what we're looking at. If we're looking at something wrong, something that's creating those lustful desires within us, then that's what's going to happen, isn't it? We're going to go down that path. But if we're looking at something, let's say reading Gurbani, for example, which is the purest thing that we could do, then we're obviously going to connect with WhyGuru. Right? So the question here is, what are we doing in our lives? What are we looking at? What are we hearing? Are we listening to slanders and gossiping? What are we doing with our tongue? Are we saying something hurtful to someone? Because that something that's hurtful is going to come back to us as well. So what are we doing with our hands? What are we doing with this body? What kind of actions are we performing? Now, this is something to think about. This is something to pause and reflect upon. Okay, this is not a theory now. This is something that we need to, sit down, reflect upon, have a think about what are we doing in our lives? What are we doing with these senses? Okay? So Jat, another way of looking Jat is similar to the second definition, is seeing the right thing, speaking the right thing, and listening to the right things and doing the right actions. That's what Jat is. The next thing that Maharaj is mentioning, so one technique is self-control, okay? And it comes to food as well. We need to have self-control over what we eat as well, because if we overeat, then obviously we have issues. We can't sleep at night, we can't get up at Amrit Vela, and so on and so forth, okay? So that's the self-control that we need to have within ourselves. Next one is contentment. So contentment here means that we're not too happy during happy times, and we're not too sad during sad times. Okay? So we're not too happy when we gain something in life. Let's say we got a new job. Let's say, someone's getting married. That's amazing, good for them. Let's say, you got a new car, a new phone, whatever it is that gives you that, excitement. That's great. It's good to be happy, but not be too happy, because when you're too happy, then when you're sad, you're going to come right down rock bottom, So it's going to be like you're riding these waves of the ocean, really high and really low, really quickly. So what we want to do is, we don't want to be at those really high, really low extreme points. What we want to do is we want to be in the middle. We want to be steadfast. So, when someone is really happy and when someone, is really sad, it's important to remember WhyGuru at all times. Is really crucial, because often we forget. When we get something that we wanted, then we're like, yeah, we're okay now, our simran kat janda, gurbani kat jandi, everything just starts to plummet down. And then when we're sad, then we pick it back up again. It's like, please WhyGuru help us. And this is an example today. We were stuck in traffic, I kid you not. It was a really long journey, and I'm like, please WhyGuru, we got to do this katha today. We've been through so much difficulty as it is. I've been sick and everything. Please just clear out the traffic. And like Maharaj's Kirpa, they did. So it's like, be happy. When you're happy, when I was happy, I should have done the same ardas, isn't it? Just like Maharaj, be angsang at all times. So, often what happens is, when people are super sad, it leads to psychological issues like depression, like anxiety. And some people, because it's so much that they cannot cope with it, they resort to alcohol and drugs. But Maharaj's Kirpa, we've got Gurbani that we can use as an anchor to keep us in place. So the idea here is contentment, meaning that we need to stay in the middle. We don't want to be jumping up and down like the waves of the ocean. We want to be in the middle, steadfast. And the way we can be steadfast is important, because the way we can do it is gratitude. Who here practices gratitude? Just raise your hands. Who here knows about gratitude, first of all? Raise your hands if you know about gratitude. Yeah, and so not everybody here knows about gratitude, or you just don't want to participate. Yeah, Sukhdeep Singh here knows about gratitude. That's really good. Who here practices gratitude? So knowing is different, practicing is different. It's okay, don't be shy. Raise your hand. It's all good. Very good. Benji, very good. That's really good, Singh. Well done. So it's important to practice gratitude, because often we have difficulties in our lives, and then we often think that, someone else is moving, they're getting all the things that they wanted in life, and we're just stuck here, nothing is moving along, we're just stuck in this rut, and we're not able to get out. But the truth of the matter is, if we live our life in gratitude, if we have a journal, let's say, if we write, number it from 1 to, let's say, 31, however many days there are in the month, number it down and write 3 things that we're grateful for, I kid you not, you will see how many things that are changing in your life, but you don't see them normally because these things are so subtle. Because we're stuck in that negative loop of, this is not happening, that's not happening, "Eh hunda, oh nahi hunda, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, nothing is working." Because of that, we're not able to see the blessings that WhyGuru is giving us every single day of our lives. But when we live in gratitude, we're able to see the small steps that we're taking towards our goal. May they be small, but we're still moving. Okay? So the ability to be content, no matter what the situation is, no matter if it's happiness or sadness or whatever it is called being a goldsmith. So who best to understand gratitude from than the life of those Gursikhs that actually lived contentment and gratitude? So this Sakhi, all Sakhis are amazing. This Sakhi is my absolute favorite. And this Sakhi is about by Manjuji, who lived, the Paudi number 38. They lived this in their life. So by Manjuji were not a Gursikh to begin with. They were the ones that would pray onto graves, and they lived in a community where everybody in that village prayed upon graves. And by Manjuji were like the Pradhan or the chief of that village. And one day they went to the sanctuary of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, our fifth Guru, and they sat in the sanctuary of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, just like we're sitting here in the sanctuary of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And they were listening to the sermons, listening to Gurbani, listening to Kirtan, and they were just loving it. But one thing that they noticed that really hit their heart was that when they looked around, they looked at the Sikhs, and they saw that the Sikhs had their eyes closed, and they were just experiencing something so blissful that by Manjuji thought that I want to experience that as well. They said, I want to become a Sikh of the Guru, just like these Sikhs are. I want to experience that bliss. So what they did was they went up to Guru Arjan Dev Ji and they said, Maharaj, I want to become your Sikh. And Guru Arjan Dev Ji said, it's not that easy to become a Sikh. So nowadays, Sikhi comes willy-nilly to us. We can come to the Gurdwara Sahib, get darshan of Maharaj. That wasn't the case back in the days. It's not that easy to get darshan of Maharaj, let alone getting Sikhi. It's not that easy. You had to give your head to the Guru. You had to surrender your mind. Now we're just saying it, yeah, I got to surrender my mind, Amrit Shaklo and all that kind of stuff. But these guys, these Gursikhs actually earned it. Because they earned Sikhi, they understand the value of Sikhi. Sometimes we often don't do that. We don't often understand the value of Sikhi. Because they have earned Sikhi, they understand the value of Sikhi. They understand the value of Gurbani, understand the value of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So by Manjuji, they went up to Guru Arjan Dev Ji. They said, I want to become your Sikh. And Guru Arjan Dev Ji said, it's not that easy, but we can try. So what they said was, Guru Arjan Dev Ji said was, we only do prayers, we only remember, we only, do ardas to Akal Purkh WhyGuru. We don't pray upon these graves. So that's the first thing, that if you want to become a Sikh, then you need to stop doing that. So Bhai Manjuji said, okay, I'll stop it. They come back to the village and they stop praying to the graves, and all the villagers are gathering around now, and they're like, what happened to you? This is like a community thing, isn't it? Let's say, you're doing something together as a community. If one person stops and the main person stops doing it, then everybody else starts questioning you. So then they were like, sorry, if you can, if the kids can just be settled down a bit, otherwise it gets distracting. Sorry about that. So then what they said was that if you stop praying to these graves, the villagers, they said, then we're going to demote you from being a chief to, whatever, a normal person. So what they had was, they had a luxurious life and they got downsized into a smaller house. They left all the comforts that they had. So imagine all the comforts that we have. If we have to even leave one comfort, then it's really hard for us to live, isn't it? We think our life is not easy anymore. Our life is so difficult. Going to India, living in chopade and things like that, in tents, living in the Nihang Dals is different. It's completely opposite of what we have here. So imagine that, completely downsizing. So then they were like, they were happy with that as well. We would be so sad, leaving all the comforts of our house, but they weren't. So that's living in contentment. So next, what ended up happening was Guru Arjan Dev Ji started testing their Sikh. They started testing Bhai Manjuji to see if they are going to be a true Sikh or not. So what they did was they sent a Sikh to Bhai Manjuji's house, and they sent them with a Hukamnama Sahib. And they said to the Sikh, they said, ask Bhai Manji for 20 rupees, which is a big deal back then. And only then, if they give you the 20 rupees, only then can you give this Hukamnama Sahib to them. They said, okay. So, the Sikh comes to the house, and Bhai Manjuji is so happy. They're like, out of all the people, Guru Arjan Dev Ji sent this Hukamnama Sahib for me. That's amazing. So they were so happy. And they said, there's only one condition, you have to give 20 rupees. So not only has their house been, downsized, now they have to come up with some sort of money in order to get the Hukamnama Sahib. So what they did was they sent their wife and their daughter out to do some, servant jobs, and they themselves cut grass to gather money. By the end of the day, they were able to get the money, and then they gave it to the Sikh. And then they opened up the Hukamnama Sahib, and it said, Bhai Manji ji, tenu Paramatma yaad rave. Tu Paramatma nu chete karda rahi. And that's all it said. And Bhai Manji ji just started crying. And the Sikh was like, Koi nahi, I know it's just like, this is all Maharaj said, but you can have the 20 rupees back if you want, but don't cry. I know this is disheartening. And then Bhai Manji ji were like, that's something we would say, isn't it? Bhai Manji ji were like, what are you talking about? I'm so happy that my Guru has sent me this Hukamnama Sahib, and they're telling me to remember WhyGuru at all times. This is amazing. So another thing that happened was, and moving forward in this, was that Guru Arjan Dev Ji asked for Bhai Manji ji to come to Amritsar Sahib, and they said, we have seva for you. So this is where this image comes from, this image of pile of woods. So they said, we have seva for you. Again, Bhai Manji got really happy. They said, out of all the Sikhs out there, Guru Arjan Dev Ji asked for me. So, this is something really exciting for them. So they come and they said, Guru Arjan Dev Ji said to Bhai Manji that you need to start doing, we need you for langar seva. What you need to do is you need to start collecting dry wood. Okay? Go to the jungles and then collect wood for the langar. So they used to do that. So one day what happened was Guru Arjan Dev Ji came and Bhai Manji had gone to collect wood. And what happened was Guru Arjan Dev Ji asked the Langri Singh, and they said, where's Bhai Manji? They said they've been out to collect wood. And they said, okay, so where does he eat? What does he eat? They said they eat the food from the langar. And then they said to the Langri Singh, tell him from today he's not to eat langar anymore. So imagine Guruji coming to you and telling you can't have langar anymore. We'd be like, all right, bye. I can't do this. This is too hard. Bhai Manji ji found out after, and they said, they were so happy. They said that my Guru is giving me a teaching. My Guru is actually trying to teach me something. They're teaching me to earn an honest living, to earn my own food. Think about the positive mindset, and think about the mindset of the Sikh that we talked about. So what ended up happening was that Bhai Manji ji one day went out and they slipped and they fell into this well. As you can see here, there's water in here. And they had the pile of woods above their head the whole time, and they were reciting Gurbani. And the whole night passed, and then the next day they were still reciting Gurbani, and someone came by and they heard someone reciting Gurbani. When they looked into the well, they saw Bhai Manji ji. They went straight to Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and Guru Arjan Dev Ji, when they found out, they came running without any shoes on or anything. They left the throne, they came running, they came to Bhai Manji, and the Sangat followed. And Bhai Manji ji, they were told to leave the wood in the water and just come up, they said. Bhai Manji ji said, no, this wood is more important than my life. This wood is going to be a part of langar, and this wood is going to feed so many people. I cannot do that. So they said, okay, we'll pick up the wood, and then you need to come up. And as you can see here in the middle one, Bhai Manji ji is coming up now. And when they came up, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, as you can see in the third photo here, they came and they just took Bhai Manji ji in the embrace. Can you imagine being that person where Guru is coming to you, running towards you, and coming to embrace you? Such an amazing feeling that is. So Bhai Manji ji were just looking down, and they had their hands folded, as you can see. And Guru Arjan Dev Ji said, ask for anything you want. I'm so happy with you, ask for anything. And Bhai Manji ji didn't say anything. They were looking down the whole time. And then Guru Arjan Dev Ji asked again. So they asked 2 more times. The third time, Guru Arjan Dev Ji asked, Bhai Manji ji said, Maharaj, please, the only thing I want is, please don't test anyone's faith like you've tested mine. Please don't test anyone's Sikhi like you have tested mine. Because others might actually waver. Others might lose faith, so please don't do that. Guru Arjan Dev Ji were so happy. They said, Je tu mangiya vi hai, even if you've asked for something, you've asked for the Sangat, not for yourself. This is so amazing. And they gave a boon, they gave a blessing to Bhai Manji ji. They said, whoever listens to the Sakhi of Bhai Manji ji, at any point with so much love, then Pai Manjji is going to be the person that is also going to ferry them across this terrifying ocean of, the 5 vices, the lust, greed, the lack of confidence, the self-doubt, all this fear that's holding us back onto this world and not letting us connect to WhyGuru. Pai Manjji is going to ferry you across. They're going to help you. So that's the importance. So here, look at how Pai Manjji, they lived in contentment. They lived in gratitude. They were so happy with whatever they had, and not once did they complain. So this is something that Maharaj is teaching us through this body as well, that we need to be like these Gursikhs that live their life in contentment. They went through so much hardship. If we had to go through that, we wouldn't even survive the first test, let alone going through all those other tests, right? But look at here, Pai Manjji, they did survive it. And look, they got the happiness of our Guru. And that's what we're here for as well. We want the happiness of Guru Granth Sahib Ji as well. So let's look at the next bit now. So Maharaj are saying, Aharan mat ved hathiyar. So Aharan meaning anvil, mat meaning intellect, ved meaning knowledge, and hathiyar meaning hammer. So just like gold is placed on the anvil and it's hit by a hammer to shape it, if gold is in the liquid form, it cannot be shaped because it'll be moving around, isn't it? And anvil is immovable. So if the gold is in the solid form, then it won't move around. Then the hammer can hit it and then we can make jewelry, isn't it? So just like that, we need to shape our intellect so that WhyGuru, the divine knowledge of WhyGuru, of how to fulfill our purpose in life, would start to stick within us. Okay, so here Maharaj are talking about intellect. They're talking about mat, and they're not talking about man. So there's an important distinction here that is being made. Does anybody know the difference between mind and intellect? Just raise your hand. Anyone? What is mind to you and what is intellect to you? What is mind? Everybody should know about mind. Come on. Mind. Anyone? The thing that controls your thoughts. Okay, very good. We're getting a good start. Anyone about intellect? It's very easy. Okay, so mind is something that generates thoughts, images, concepts, isn't it? Intellect is the one that determines the quality of those thoughts and determines what to act upon. So that's an important difference. So mind is very reactive. So if I say, VG, what kind of Sikh are you? You're doing X, Y, and Z, and you're going to be like, Tu kaun hundi mainu kehn wali? Who are you to tell me that? VG is going to get angry because they're reacting from the mind. Sorry, VG, I know you're amazing. You're reacting at the level of the mind. It's like a quick thing, isn't it? Quick answer, reaction, isn't it? Action and reaction. But intellect is different. Intellect will make you stop, make you think about what you're about to say. Maybe, VG was going through something, that's why they got angry, there must be something that's going on. And then you stop, you think, you calm down, and then you say something. That's intellect. So here Maharaj is saying we need to shape our intellect, because intellect is what's going to control the mind. It's very important, okay? So once the intellect is molded, once we work on the intellect with the knowledge of Gurbani, and the hammer is the hammer of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So Maharaj are continuously hitting us with this hammer of Gurbani, with situations that we're put through. And Maharaj is giving us examples. So the knowledge that we get is we start to understand what Gurbani means. We start to understand what it means and we start to apply it in our lives. That's the knowledge that we're getting. And the hammer is every single day Maharaj is telling us what we need to do in our lives. A prime example is Anand Sahib Di Bani by Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji Maharaj, where they say, "E man chanchala chaturai ke na paya." So mind is very chanchal. Mind is very volatile, it's very reactive, it moves around a lot. We go from one thought to another, and then one thought finishes, we go to another thought. It's very movable. Whereas intellect is not that movable. Intellect is reflecting, pausing, reflecting, and thinking. So Maharaj is saying, "E man chanchala chaturai ki na paya," that there is no clever trick that you can use. There is no shortcut that you can have to get to WhyGuru, to connect with WhyGuru. So these are the instructions that Maharaj is saying, that's the knowledge. Does everybody understand? Nod your head. The knowledge is the knowledge we're getting from Guru Granth Sahib Ji, telling us what to do in our daily lives. And Anand, very good, Viji, thank you. And Anand Sahib is one of those, okay? So when we get these instructions, another example is, from Gurbani is, Maharaj say, Uth naam jap. Get up and remember WhyGuru at ambrosial hours. Another example is of instruction is Parka bura na rakho cheet. Maharaj is saying, don't think ill towards anyone else. These are very clear, simple examples from Guru Granth Sahib Ji. This is the knowledge they're giving us. But we wouldn't understand this knowledge. We wouldn't even get to know about this knowledge until we start to shape our mind with the kirpa of WhyGuru. Until we have abstinence, until we have contentment in our lives, we will not be able to walk on this path. And be able to understand. Another example is Maharaj saying, Ninda kisi ki nahi pali, that slandering is not good for anyone. Don't do it. Why do you want to put the negativity, the burden of negativity from someone else by slandering onto your head? There's no point in doing that. So this is the hatiyar, this is the hammer. So these instructions, all these examples that were given, Uth naam jap, Ninda kisi ki nahi pali, all of these examples are the hammer that Maharaj is hitting us with every single day. They're saying, sort yourself out. So then next, Maharaj is saying, Po khalla agan tapatao. So po meaning fear, khalla meaning bellows, agan meaning fire, and tapatao meaning repeatedly heating. So bellows is this one. And what it is it provides air to the furnace, and the heat then becomes more and more and gets more fiercer. So you get more heat, so continuous heating. And you need this. So as you can see, this goldsmith is pumping that air into the furnace, and you need this repeated heat in order to, put gold under high temperature and then purify it, right? So for us, the loving fear of WhyGuru within our mind is the fan that constantly heats the flames that promotes the repeated heating. Does that make sense? It's loving fear that we need to have within our minds. And I know that's a contrasting thing, love and fear. I'll explain it in a second. But what is loving fear? Loving fear is when we love someone, we don't want to do anything that will hurt them. Is that true? Yes? Nod your head. Yes? No? Okay. Everybody's awake. I know it's getting a bit late. Just wake up. Yes, very good, Viji. Thank you. So when you love someone, you don't want to hurt them, right? When you love someone, you don't want to, lose their trust. So that's the loving fear that we have. When we love someone, we are very conscious of what we're doing, our actions, what we're saying, because we don't want to hurt them, isn't it? So when we're conscious, we have to be conscious of our actions because everything is being recorded by our mind. There's a camera in here, it's very invisible, and that camera is recording every single thing that we think about, we say, we do, we hear, everything's being recorded. So we need to have that loving fear for WhyGuru, because if you want to walk on this path, if you want to connect with WhyGuru, then we need to live our lives consciously. We need to be careful about what we're doing. And it comes back to abstinence. We need to have that self-control, that discipline in our mind. So what do we need to do repeatedly? What is tapatao for us? It is meditating. When we do Simran, we are able to control our mind. So that's something that we need to continuously do continuously. Nitnem is another example. We need to do Nitnem continuously so that we can have that discipline, so that we can have that self-control. Does that make sense? Okay. So this Sakhi is an interesting one, and I didn't know of this one before, but I was really excited to read it. So there was a saintly being that that was there at some place, and there's two guys that approached that saintly being, and they said, "We want to become your disciple. We want you to teach us, and we want to connect with God." Right? So that saintly being was like, he didn't say no to them. They said, okay, theek hai, aajo, innit? Not a problem. And they said, but I have one challenge for you guys, for both of you guys. I'm going to give you a pigeon each. And what I want you to do is, there's only one instruction that you need to follow. And if you follow that instruction, then you can become my disciple. Not a problem. So he said, I need you to kill this pigeon where nobody is looking. So that was the only condition. Nobody has to be around when you kill this pigeon. So the first guy's like, yeah, no problem, let's do this. So he went into a narrow road, he took the pigeon and saw nobody was looking, and he killed the pigeon. So like you can see here. The second guy, so the first guy came back to the saintly being. He's like, look, I've done the task that you asked me for. Nobody was looking when I killed a pigeon. And I came first, so you got to make me your disciple. And the saintly being was like, no, you got to wait around. You can't just jump the gun. Let's see what the other guy's doing. So the other guy, he went around, and when he went out, he saw that there were so many people around, so he couldn't kill the pigeon there. So what he did was, he's like, okay, let me just go to the jungles. Nobody's going to be there. I can kill the pigeon. Not a problem. So he went in the jungles, and guess what he saw? He saw a bunch of birds looking at him. He's like, I can't do it here. There's a bunch of birds looking at me. I can't kill him. I can't kill this pigeon. So he's like, okay, I need to find a place where nobody's looking at me. So he went into a cave, and it was just him and the pigeon. So the pigeon was looking at him like this. I mean, how can you kill him when he's like really looking at you like that? So the pigeon was looking at him, and he's like, okay, he's looking at me. I can't kill him. The condition is nobody has to be looking, and the pigeon was looking. So what he did was he tried to cover the eyes of the pigeon and, stop him from looking. And a voice, and he was ready to kill him, and the voice came inside of him saying that, don't kill this pigeon. And he freaked out. He's like, okay, that's it. I'm not killing this pigeon. I have all these signs now. He came back to the saintly being. He's like, you know what? If you want to make me your disciple, great. If you don't, I don't really care. I can't kill this pigeon. I can't do it. So then the saintly being was like, why are you saying this? Why couldn't you kill this pigeon? He's like, no matter where I went, somebody or someone was looking always. I couldn't do it. So he's like, WhyGuru, just like that. WhyGuru is everywhere. There is no place where WhyGuru isn't. There is no place where we're not being watched. So that's why the power of the mind, isn't it? We're being watched at every single time. That's why we need to adopt abstinence in our life. We need to have that self-control, because each and every action of ours is being looked at. And that's what's going to go with us. So WhyGuru is witnessing all of our actions, all of the deeds that we're doing, good or bad. Even in the next week, you're going to learn about karmi apo apani ke neda ke dur. Whatever actions we're performing, good or bad, will determine whether we connect to WhyGuru or we don't. Ke neda ke dur. Whoever is closer to the path of connecting to WhyGuru, whoever is not. Okay? So next Maharaj is saying Panda Pao Amrit Tit Tal. So Panda meaning crucible. Crucible is a metal container where substances are melted at a high temperature, as you can see here. Pao meaning love. Amrit is translated to elixir or Amrit as we know it. Tit Tal meaning this and then merge. So, when someone is angry with us, let's say, VG talks to me in an angry way. Do you think I would like to talk to VG? I don't even know them. Let's say they come up to me and be like, Banji, like talking to me in an angry way. Do you think I'll talk to them? VG at the back is smiling. They know like, this girl ain't approaching them. So I'm not going to talk to VG, isn't it? If one of the Benjis talk to me in an angry way, I'm not going to talk to them because you're being angry with me. I don't want to talk to you. So when someone is being angry towards you, you just don't want to talk to them because they're being angry. But if someone is talking to you in a loving way, if I approach you in a loving way, like, Benji, how are you? It's really nice to see you. Then you'll be like, oh, this Benji's nice. I want to talk to her, isn't it? So love is a universal language. Love is a language of WhyGuru. You don't even need to be speaking in order to speak this language. Look at the animals out there. Look at the babies. They experience love. They know when someone is, reacting with love with them, if they're experiencing love with them or not. Just like animals, they're able to understand, they're able to get that vibration if someone is being loving towards them or not. So just like that, when we have love within us, then our thoughts and our actions start to reflect that love. If we have anger within us, then that's all we're going to be. We're going to be angry. Our actions and our thoughts are going to reflect that, isn't it? But if we have love within us, then that's what is going to be reflected. So here Maharaj is saying, what kind of panda do we need? Let's say panda is a vessel, okay? So this body is a vessel, and through this vessel, we're here to connect with WhyGuru, okay? So what kind of panda do we need? We need panda of love. We need panda of love in order to obtain the Amrit of Gurbani from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And when we get that Amrit within us of Gurbani, then it sticks within us. If our mind and our heart is full of the 5 vices, do you really think that we're going to listen to the instructions of Guru Granth Sahib Ji? Not really. But if we have love within us, if we have humility within us, then are we going to follow the instructions of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the teachings? Yeah. We're going to do that. So just like that, we need to have that vessel of love within us so that we can then start to understand Gurbani and see what it's saying. So look at the, there's an example. Let's say I come from like a scientific background. So I've made a lot of chemicals in the lab. You know, you have to follow an instruction manual to make a chemical. Let's say you're not able to understand what that instruction manual is saying. Then you cannot make that chemical, isn't it? Just like that, if we're not able to understand what Gurbani is saying, then we're not able to live our life in accordance to Gurbani. So this body is telling us that we need to start purifying our mind of those bad thoughts, negativity, all that kind of stuff, so that Gurbani starts to stick within us. I'm not saying don't read Gurbani, even if you don't understand it. It's absolutely crucial for us to read Gurbani, whether we understand it or not, because it's doing something within our lives. But once we start to understand it, that's the game changer, because then we start to understand what Gurbani is saying. Then we start to connect, feel that connection with Gurbani, with WhyGuru themselves. So for us to merge, so that's the last bit here, for us to merge, we need to have that love within us. We need to practice abstinence, have loving fear, and have love within us to start merging with WhyGuru, to start connecting with WhyGuru. So next Maharaj is saying, Kadiya Sabad Sachi Taksal. So Kadiya meaning create, Sabad meaning Shabad Gurbani, Sachi meaning true, and Taksal meaning mint. So in terms of gold, mint here refers to a manufacturing facility that produces gold coins and adds a kind of stamp at the end, isn't it? So the whole process of gold making, so gold goes through this process, high temperature and everything gets purified. At the end, it gets the stamp at the end, right? So the stamp could be in the form of jewelry or in the form of a coin. So just like that, just like gold goes through this process and at the end it gets that stamp at the end, for us, that stamp is obtained in the sanctuary of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, in the sanctuary of the Sadh Sangat. So that stamp, so for example, by Manjji, before they were going through whatever difficulties they were going through, but they were sent by Guru Arjan Dev Sahib Ji to do the seva, a langar seva. That was the stamp that they obtained. They were given that seva. And in Gurbani it says so many times that without the kirpa, without the grace of WhyGuru, nobody can do seva. Seva isn't something that you just get up one day and that's it, you start doing seva. It's something that Maharaj give us, they bless us with. And just like that, that's the stamp that we're receiving, that WhyGuru is happy with us, that Maharaj is happy with us. So that's the stamp that we obtain once we practice all these things that Maharaj have talked about just now. Does that make sense? Confused? No? Okay, good. So in order to get that final stamp, we need to be in the sanctuary of Guru Granth Sahib Ji in the Sadh Sangat. So then Maharaj say, Jin ko nadar karam tinkar. So jin ko meaning those, nadar meaning gaze or to see, karam meaning effort or blessings, tinkar meaning to do. So those blessed beings that have obtained the graceful gaze of WhyGuru obtain the blessings and they become liberated whilst they're still alive, because that's the purpose, isn't it? We want to become liberated. That's why we're putting all these efforts. And the key point here is the effort. So Uddam karho karabho thakur. Only WhyGuru is able to bless us with that effort, and we're able to do this effort because WhyGuru is blessing us. So we can do ardas to Maharaj that please bless us with the effort so that we can connect to you, that so we can join the Sadh Sangat, so we can do seva, we can do sermon, we could come to satsang, get up at Amrit Vela, so that we can start to then experience you, because that's what we want to do. In the essence, isn't it? We want to experience WhyGuru in this life. We want to become liberated whilst we're still alive. And it's the effort. Those that put in the effort are the ones that are able to get it. So, you know, we hear so much about Mahapurkhs. You know, VG's done really nice series. And I'm absolutely loving it, VG. It's so good, the podcast. And you can see it in the videos as well. I've been addicted to it, to be honest. It's so good. I can't believe I didn't watch it before. It talks about the different sons and the Mahapurkhs. So, you know, there's so many of them out there. Sant Baba Nand Singh Ji, Sant Baba Ishwar Singh Ji, Rade Wale Maharaj. There's, you know, Sant Baba Attar Singh Ji, Mastuang Wale. There's so many of them, okay? So, you know how their life is so amazing. They are actually Jivan Mukt, aren't they? Would you agree? They've been liberated whilst they're still alive. Do you agree? Yes? No? Okay. How do you think that happened? Do Do you think it was they came into this life and that's it? They just got liberated? No. It's the effort that they put in from so many different lives prior to that life, that effort is what got to them to that point where they were not just Jivan Mukh themselves, but they also help others get liberated as well. Others join the path of Sikhi, join the path of love, be able to connect with WhyGuru. So it's the effort that we put in, and whatever effort we put in, you will bear fruits of it as well. So start coming to the Sangat, start doing Simran, even if it's 5 minutes, start doing Seva, start somewhere. So that effort will multiply for sure. Lastly, Maharaj is saying, Nanak Nadri, Nadar Nihal. So Maharaj Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji stating that Nadri meaning WhyGuru or gaze, Nadar meaning graceful, Nihal meaning being exempt from suffering and being exalted. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying that with WhyGuru's glance of grace, people become free of suffering. And then they get to this extreme state of happiness, which is Anand. And that Anand that doesn't change with the situation, whether good or bad, whether happy or sad, that Anand remains the same. Okay? No matter what challenges come our way, that person that has gotten under the radar of WhyGuru is going to be in Anand. The difference here is challenges are going to come our way anyways. Sadness is going to come. Where there's happiness, there's sadness. There's no, denying it. The main difference here is you're no longer affected by those challenges. You're no longer affected by the 5 vices. You've risen above it. Yeah? So when we start to look inwardly, with the grace of WhyGuru, then we start to realize who we truly are and what we are really here to do. So here's an example. If we think we're our brain, that's not true. If we think we're this body, that's not true as well. If we think we're health, wealth, and achievements, that's not true. If we think that we're this mind, that we're these thoughts, that's not true as well. If we think that we're emotions, our feelings, nope. If we think we're circumstances, our circumstances are family or trauma, that's not true as well. We're none of these things. Just have a look at this. There's 6 things that are listed here. We're none of these things, guys. None of them, Sangaji. All of these things are related to the body. But what we are the embodiment of the divine light. We are Atma. Atma is Paramatma. Atma is WhyGuru. Atma has been there however long WhyGuru has been there, because Atma is Paramatma. The biggest barrier that we have and the biggest bridge that we have is the same, is the mind. So the biggest barrier that we have is the mind because of the 5 vices. When the 5 vices are controlling the mind, then we cannot connect to WhyGuru, isn't it? But let's say that mind overcomes it. So if we go through abstinence, have loving fear, have contentment in our lives and have that, love within us, then the mind becomes a bridge. Because of Gurbani, we start to understand Gurbani, we start to live Gurbani practically. So lastly, Sangaji, this is a short Sakhi if we have time. Do we have time, Viji? Just 5 minutes, yeah? Okay. So this is a short Sakhi. And I love this Sakhi as well. This Sakhi is about a village of thugs. And this is during Guru Nanak Dev Ji's time. So here, I'm not sure if you can see it clearly. So here's a bunch of thugs. What they've done is they've killed a guy, this man that's laying flat. They've killed him and they're taking all his wealth away. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they come to this village of thugs. And this is different from Sajjan Thug. So this is a bit different. They come with Pai Mardana Ji and Pai Bala Ji, as you can see in the photo. And they come in this village, and what these thugs do is, their rule was that whatever you get, whatever one thug, let's say one person has thieved, all the wealth from one person, and then they have to split it within the whole village. So they have to give shares to the whole village. So when Guru Nanak Dev Ji come with their companions, these guys the thugs were so happy. They're like, another person has come now, we're going to loot them, we're going to kill them. And they were like so nice to them. They're like, please come. They're like respectful. Please come. We'll take care of you. Please stay at our house. And in Gurbani, in Anand Sahib, it says, Jiho mele bahar ho nirmal. And this is again what Gurbani is telling. This is an instruction. This is the knowledge, the hammer that Maharaj is hitting us with. Don't do this. Don't live in this duality. That inside, jiyaho male, that you're male, you're full of deceit, you're full of jealousy inside, full of hatred, full of 5 vices inside. Bahar ho nirmal, that you're showing yourself to be someone else, some like purified form of yourself. You're so religious on the outside. You're living in this duality. So inwardly, these guys, they knew that they wanted to kill Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They didn't know who Guru Nanak Dev Ji was at that time, but they wanted to kill them and get their wealth. Outwardly, they were showing to be really nice guys. So then Maharaj is saying, if that's what you do, jiyaho mele baharaho nirmal, if that's what you do, then you're losing your life in a gamble. Then you're going to come back into the cycle of life and death. That's not what we want, is it? So then these thugs, one of them invited Guru Nanak Dev Ji into their house along with Pai Mardana Ji and Pai Balla Ji. And then normally what they used to do was they used to stay awake at night, and then at nighttime they would kill the person. So no, I don't know what happened to this one guy who was the owner of the house. He actually fell asleep and he didn't wake up. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji would get up at Amrit Vela, at ambrosial hours. They said they would do their pagti, and they said to Pai Balaji and Pai Mardana Ji, let's go. It's time for us to go now. So the guy who was going to kill them stayed asleep, and then Guruji left with their companions. He woke up a bit later, and the whole village was gathered around him, and he's like, give us our share. You must have killed him, you must have taken his wealth, give us our share now. And he's like, I have nothing to give you because I fell asleep. They're like, you're lying. You don't want to give it to us. Give us our share. He's like, honestly, I didn't kill him. I couldn't get anything from him because he actually left. They're like, okay, then run after him. Run after that person and go kill him and get his wealth. So 4 thugs go running after Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Pai Mardana Ji, Pai Balla Ji with swords. And what they do is, what they wanted to do was they wanted to kill them, right? So they reached Guru Nanak Dev Ji and they said, stop. You know, we're going to take your wealth and we're going to kill you. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, "Theek hai, kar lo inne, not a problem." And they're like, what? Nobody has said that before. Everybody's fearful of their life. And here you are, you're saying, maar do inne, not a problem. So then they were just shocked. And they said, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, I only have one condition, if you want to, one request, if you want to fulfill it. I just want you to do proper funeral rites for me. I want to be cremated properly. I want to be, you need to get fire from somewhere, and then you need to perform proper funeral rites. They said, okay, but where are we supposed to get fire from? So what they did was, Guru Nanak Dev Ji turned around. So they were in the jungles at this time. They turned around, and in a distance, they saw smoke coming out. And they knew that there must be fire there somewhere. So then what they did was, just looking down in that direction, they said, go there and get the fire that you need, and then you can kill me and kill us, not a problem. Pai Balaji, Pai Mardana Ji is like looking at each other. They're like, we have no idea what Guru Sahib is playing at, but we're just going to go along with this. We have faith in Maharaj. We're just going to, continue with this. So then 2 thugs, they left, and 2 thugs stayed back guarding. The 2 thugs that left, on the way there, on the way to the funeral pyre, they saw that there were these angels of death, these demons that were beating up this guy. And this guy was a big sinner. He performed a lot of bad deeds in his life, and they were beating him up. And on the way there, they saw that. But then when they took the fire and on the way back, they saw the same guy on a palanquin, and he's being treated like royalty. And they're like, what's going on? So they stopped and they asked the angels of death. They're like, what's going on? How come, pehla da onu kuttade pe si, hun tusi ode naal pyar karde pe, like treating him like royalty? What's going on? So they're like, because Guru Nanak Dev Ji actually looked at his funeral pyre, all of his sins have been eradicated, all of them. The glance of grace, nadar. That's what it comes down to. All of his sins have been eradicated. He's good. He's good now. So they're like, where can we find Guru Nanak Dev Ji? We want this too. They're like, Murkho, the ones that you're going to kill and the one that you're preparing this funeral pyre for is Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They came running back. They're like, Maharaj, we're so sorry. We made such a big mistake. We're so sorry about this. Please forgive us. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, you're forgiven. All you need to do is give your wealth out now to poor people and earn an honest living. it comes back to the glance of grace. Guru Nanak Dev Ji just looked at the funeral pyre just once, and that person's sins got eradicated. The point is, the reason why we're doing all of this, the reason why we're going through this body, the reason why we want to experience, practice abstinence, have loving fear, have contentment in our lives, have that love within us, is so that we can get the nadar of Guru Granth Sahib Ji onto us. That's why we come to this gathering. That's why we come to local programs. That's why we do seva. That's why we do simran. That's why we do Amrit Vela, isn't it? To come into the glance of grace of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I'm just going to finish it off with one more thing. I thought it was really interesting when I heard it yesterday from the life of Baba Isha Singh Ji. They were saying, so a Sikh asked Baba Isha Singh Ji, what happens when you die? What happens? So they said, when you die, then, depending on your actions, the Jamdut come and then they start to beat you up, depending on what kind of deeds you've performed. Let's say you've done bad deeds, they'll beat you up and all that. So they said, what about a Sikh? They said, if you're Amritari Sikh and if you're Tyar Bar Tyar, then the Jamdus don't come to get you. It's the Shaheed Singhs that come and get you. And then Maharaj is the one that decides what's going to happen if you're Amritari, theek hai? And then Maharaj is the one that's going to tell you, they're going to be seeing what kind of actions you performed. Kinni ki bhakti kiti hai? How much bhakti have you done? How much penance have you done in this life? And based on that, they're going to put you in another life. Let's say you've done something good. They're going to put you in another life of a Sikh. So we're all Sikhs here, isn't it? Put you in another life of a Sikh, and you're going to keep on doing this until you get to the point where you have connected with WhyGuru, until you become a Brahmagyani and you have become Jivan Mukht, until you've become liberated from this life. Whilst you're still alive, we're going to keep on doing this back and forth, back and forth. So Sangat Ji, the point of this is, करो काम कंडे दे होवो हुण सिमरन करो सेवा करो साध संगत करो there's a 40-day Japji Sahib जाप शुरू कर दो चार साहिबजादियां दी शहीदी लई for the remembrance of चार साहिबजादे चक दो काम and start doing Japji Sahib, do extra part, do simran, do seva, do saad sangat, get up at Amrit Vela. And when we do that, then we come into the nadar of WhyGuru. And remember, if we've been given with any sort of seva, if we've been given any simran, if we even come to saad sangat, WhyGuru is already looking at us. WhyGuru is already blessing us. So that's the takeaway from this. So Sangat Ji, I'm so sorry for making any mistakes, and I thank you so much for the attention that you've given, and I really hope, with Maharaj's Kripa, we really hope that you've taken something away from this presentation. If you have any questions or comments, you can stick back and ask them. So forgive me for any mistakes I've made. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh. Yeah. There is a difference between the brain and the mind. The brain, so the mind is mana, bodha, chitta, ahankar. So there's divisions of that. The brain is related to intelligence, but the mind is different. So the mind is something that is able to take you. If you're surt, the mind is like surt. If you're able to connect, then it will take you to that place. But the mind has barriers, and the mind can also be a bridge. So man, bodh, chit, ahankar. Man is mind, bodh is intellect, chit is memories that we have, and ahankar is the ego. So these are the sections that are made. Does that answer your question? Sort of. Okay. That is correct, yeah. Yeah.
What is the relationship between WhyGuru and however long WhyGuru's been here and time, basically?
So WhyGuru is a Kal, isn't it? So WhyGuru is beyond time. This Atma is, because it's part of WhyGuru, it is also beyond time. Because when we die, we don't know how many times we've come back and how many times, we have been propagated into different life forms. This is beyond time. But So what we need to do is when we connect with Atma, then we go beyond time ourselves, because Atma is Paramatma, isn't it? So then there is, so for example, if you look at the Jeevani of Mahapurukhs again, I'm just going to give that example because it's easy to understand. What they do is when they connect with the WhyGuru, when their surti is connected with the WhyGuru, let's say they've been sitting in a chonkara for like about 2 days. For them, it seems like minutes because there's no recollection of time. There's no time because they're beyond that time now. For us, it'll be like, oh, they've been sitting here for 2 days. For them, it's like nothing. It's like seconds. So time is not even in the equation for them. So time is not even in the equation when it comes to connecting with our soul, and then soul is WhyGuru and connecting with WhyGuru. Yeah? Anyone else? Yay, no questions. That's good.
WhyGuru Ji, and the cool thing is that you asked about the brain and the mind. Benji, what did you study? What did you study?
Neuroscience.
Neuroscience as well. So Benji's all about the brain, all that kind of stuff. You do PhD and all this kind of stuff as well. Yeah, so if you want to talk more, so when you ask the question, Benji's like, mate, I know about the brain, I know about the mind. So thank you for that, Benji. Thank you so much for coming down and for delivering a really good talk, really insightful talk as well. I'm sure we all took a lot, everyone took a lot away from it as well. And if you didn't, just nod your head, right? Make sure you nod your head, right? So that's what I'm going to take away as well. Yeah, just nod your head as well. So thank you so much. Downstairs, Hukunama Sahib is happening, so they'll probably do Sukhasa Di Seva. So Maharaj, you probably go to Sachkhand in about 10 minutes. So what we do now, we do Shorty Ardas. And then if you guys want to leave, you can. If you want to stick back and just ask Benji questions in private, then please feel free to as well. But thank you so much, everybody. And just Binti hai, next week is our last week of the Japji Sahib course. So please do come. Please, make sure you tell all your friends and family, like I always say. Last week of the Japji Sahib course. So it'd be nice to have everybody here and to finish off, the way we started off with all the Sangha together. ठीक है जी, thank you so much. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa.